from Brazil all the way back to Ireland. He's the great John Kavanagh, the head man over at SBG Ireland. There he is. I didn't know if you would show up, not because I didn't believe, but I thought maybe you'd be jet lagged, you'd be tired. Man of your word, here you are. How are you feeling? Are you regretting this?
A little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
I tried to
got
say.
home. Yeah, I just got home and I said, "Oh, I'll lie down and I'll have a power nap," and that was the worst idea I ever had.
Oh,
I
no.
feel like I've been in a bit of a car crash, but sure, here we are. Here we
Okay.
are.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. Congratulations. Happy that you're back home. I didn't realize, and it never really came up, I didn't realize that you had never been to Brazil before. And I saw on your Instagram, first time ever in Brazil this past week.
Yeah, it's funny, eh? All these years, and I suppose the only opportunity I had was when Conor did the world tour, but I didn't accompany him on that. I was too busy with the gym back home. But yeah, that was my first time visiting for me, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu fan and practitioner, and to have an opportunity to visit the homeland was very special.
Result aside, what was it like? Like just going there, being there, experiencing the culture. Again, for someone who has devoted his life to jiu-jitsu and now MMA, of course, but that was your base, your foundation, your entry into this world. What was that like for you?
I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. We stayed in a lovely part. We're down on the beach and you're having the coconut water straight from the source and trying the acai
Oh,
and
yes.
all of this. People were fantastic, very friendly. Great experience. I suppose it would have been nice to stay for a couple of days after the fight where you can be a little bit switched off and maybe visit some of the big jiu-jitsu schools, but it wasn't to be this time. It was a little bit of an in and out job, but maybe I can return another time and stay a bit longer.
By the way, I've been talking about the acai all week long. It's incredible, right? Unlike anything you've tried. It's not like the ones that we get over here.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely delicious. You could eat it all day long. Yeah, I've had it in Ireland. It's getting popular over here, even in the kind of health food type places, and I don't know, it feels very sugary or something here, whereas there it's a bit more earthy, it's a bit more raw, and I don't know, it's probably totally in my head, but I felt it was much better for me over there.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And I've had it many times, probably too many times every time I go over there. Obviously, want to talk about Johnny Walker's incredible win and what a finish, as unique as it gets, the win over Paul Craig. But as we kind of close the loop on your first trip to Brazil, what struck me in your posts, you posted this on Instagram, the first line, you said, as a 19-year-old kid, after being humiliated with a bad beating on the street, I came across UFC 1 and my life was nudged onto a new path, inspired by the great Hoist Gracie, who was in attendance, which was super cool as well, to have him there and to show him being backstage and whatnot. I devoted my life to the practice of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. I didn't know about that story at 19. Are you open to telling us what happened and how that changed the course of your life?
You've not read my
Well,
best-selling
you have
book,
not
are you?
talked about it on this show. Win or learn, of
I'm
course.
very upset.
I'm the one who put the photo on the cover. I introduced you to Esther Lynn. Remember that?
Fair enough, fair enough. But yes, I do detail it in my book, but sure, we'll have a quick chat about it here. Yeah, it's a story I've told many times. I was out in Dublin City on a weekend, and there was I came across this kid, and he was kind of getting beaten up by a few guys, and I had done some form of martial arts most of my life, so I thought this would be like the movies. I stepped in to try and stop it, but there was maybe three or four of them. I ended up on the wrong side of a beating, but the guy I stepped in to help got away, so I achieved my goal on that. But yeah, it was pretty for looking back and being 18, 19, it was pretty humiliating for me to get badly beat up in front of my girlfriend. And I was actually, I suppose looking back now, I describe I was in depression for a couple of months. I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to do anything. And then I started trying to research other ways of self-defense and fighting. And somehow or another, I came across UFC 1, and I was like, wow, that's like real fighting. I'd been doing, I suppose you call like traditional martial arts, and it's always in a very kind of nice setting, and you throw a punch and I do my block, and that's not how it was in an actual fight. Whereas when I watched Hoist Gracie, being able to subdue even much bigger opponents, and in a weird way, it appealed to me that he didn't really have to hurt anyone. He was able to do it in a very technical fashion and just put it, apply a choke hold and the tap. So I started practicing. Then I started off with judo, and then getting a few friends together and trying to headlock each other in a shed. There was no Brazilian jiu-jitsu in Ireland at the time, and slowly but surely, traveling to the UK, traveled to the States, trained with the great Machados for a while in LA, and slowly but surely start learning it and start doing security work at the weekend. So I had plenty of chances to put it to test, and did a couple of MMA fights, and all of a sudden found myself running an MMA gym in Ireland, and that's whatever 25 odd years ago. And then I blink, and suddenly, actually, it was a weird experience. I was standing in Johnny's corner while Bruce Buffer is announcing them, and you're kind of scanning around, and I somehow saw Hoist Gracie through whatever tens of thousands of people were there, and it just caught his eyes, and I didn't even know he was there because I've met him a few times now. He cut the ribbon on my newest gym, which was a really trippy experience for me.
Wow.
Bellator had him there, and I've met him a few times on Bellator shows, and he'll be back in my gym teaching a class next month when Bellator is in town. So I have met him a few times. I didn't realize he was there, and I just locked eyes with him. It was such a, I don't know, it was very, very strange. And then even to be going there with a Brazilian guy, and he's ending up facing a European Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist, it was a kind of a surreal moment.
And what a moment for not only yourself but Johnny Walker as well. And this bond that you have forged with Johnny is really interesting, because like for the longest time he was just this nomad, right? Like every fight it seemed like he had a different team with him, different coaches. He's in Russia, he's in Canada, he's all over the place, but now he has a home in Ireland. He married an Irish girl, and it seems, just based off your social media, like you guys are legit friends. I think you were together on Christmas. He's there, and I know you're friends with a lot of the guys that you coach, but could you talk about how you have created this bond with this guy who seemingly comes from a completely different place than you?
Yeah, shout out to his wife Tara. She kind of introduced us. They were coming home from Thailand. I think they were only coming to Ireland for a short time, and she Googled where for him to train while they're in Dublin, and my gym popped up, and she brought him in. And I say the same thing with all fighters. You come by, train for a couple of weeks. I might not like you, or you might not like me. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but that's our fifth fight now. And him and his wife, they actually live in my house. They have done.
Oh, wow.
2 years or something now? Almost 2 years. And his wife is very good friends with my wife. I was best man at his wedding, and then the following week, him and his wife were witnesses for me and Orla's wedding. So we're a bit of an odd grouping, but I think we have a bit of a rhythm going now, a real groove. There's a trust thing that takes a long time to build. I feel, for a fighter and a coach, it's not just about going somewhere for a couple of weeks and the secret move you're going to learn. That's not really it. Probably no matter where you go now, all the top camps, people know how to strike, they know how to wrestle, they know how to grapple. But it takes a long time, I believe, for the true bond to form, that trust for second by second decisions that have to be made, and even fight week and dealing with all the emotions that come and making weight and doing that the right way. And we've done it 5 times now, and I think we're getting a nice bit of momentum together now.
Okay, so what's been the difference as of late? The last 2 performances, very impressive. And, this was a guy who at one point we were saying maybe he's the guy to beat John Jones. And of course, not trying to get too crazy, but it looks like he's on a path now, and light heavyweight is somewhat wide open. What, in your opinion, has been the difference as of late?
You've got athletes and you've got fighters in MMA. There's a lot more athletes than fighters. Johnny's very much a fighter. And when he got in, first of all, he kind of fought purely on instinct. He's an absolute genetic freak. Some of the things he can do. I always remember the story, his first time ever sparring in my gym. And he was sparring a guy that's not as tall as him. Very few people are, but he's probably about 6 foot tall. And Johnny feinted through a jab at him. The guy kind of flinched and closed his eyes, and Johnny jumped completely over him, just jumped over his head and landed on the other side of him. And so the guy, when he kind of opened his eyes, there's nobody in front of him. He's looking around, and I'm just scratching my head going, okay, well, this guy, this is not normal. And even some of the stuff we've done with the brain testing, his eye coordination and his ability to pick up things is off the charts. He's a very unusual human. Um, but there was some lacking in the fundamentals of fighting, let's say, that he could sometimes get away with things that normal humans couldn't. My gym is probably more well known for like bantamweight to welterweight, and suddenly I had this massive guy that will no doubt finish his career in the heavyweight division. So it just tidying up some of those kind of fundamentals in all the areas of mixed martial arts, and trying to, we have the great Packy Collins part of the team now, and I give massive credit to him for just getting that hand position a bit tighter. And even I think, although it was a short fight and it kind of ended in a bit of a weird way, even in that first minute, just that level of, I think there's a more calmness to him now in the cage. He's not in a rush to engage. He can get behind the jab. He can get behind his long kicks and not get into kind of crazy exchanges. So I really feel that we've tightened up a lot of things there, and for sure I feel there's a world championship in his future, and just glad to play a small part of that.
So that athleticism definitely on display on Saturday. Do you guys work on that? Like, okay, I'm going to hold your leg and you're going to start, is that a sequence that you can even train for, practice, or is that just his athleticism, his uniqueness, like just his pure, skill coming out of that moment? Because I don't think, you see it on TV and you're like, damn, that is impressive. But the balance you must have, the strength you must have, like even the patience to a degree to do that is really unbelievable. Like I don't know if I've ever seen a finish quite like that. Maybe once or twice. Super impressive. And then also, like to be able to connect in that moment, everything about it impressive. Do you work on something like that?
Yeah, actually part of our pretty much daily warm up, all my fighters are tired of it at this stage, is that we do 30 seconds balance on each leg. So one guy's holding your leg, very much similar to that. And you mimic throwing shots while on one leg. And that's literally part of everyday warm up that we do. And I'll also I'll bring up an incident that we were on the wrong end of that, was where one of my guys, the Franz Malambo, he's a very, very talented fighter. Actually, there's a big announcement coming out about him next week. But anyway, he fought Ricky Banderas in Dublin, and he made the mistake of catching the leg and holding it a little bit too long. And Ricky Banderas knocked out Franz Malambo. Now, Franz Malambo is an exceptional striker. He was one of Conor's main sparring partners for the Mayweather fight, just to give it an idea that he's really, really high level boxing and kickboxing. But when you're holding someone's leg, somewhat the other way of looking at it is their leg is holding both of your arms, and you're not in a position where you can just kind of chill and take your time trying to get a takedown, because you're very open. So yeah, that is actually part of the daily warm up, is that comfortableness of being able to move around on one leg. You put that with somebody that's just an exceptional athlete, like probably in a different life, Johnny should have been a basketball player or an NFL receiver or something. There's a lot more money in that game than in the fighting game, but he does have as part of him, he's not just an athlete, he's a fighter, he's a warrior. You see that switch, that I know he's a bit of a clownish personality, but every now and again you can hit a switch where you kind of get the idea that maybe 1,000 years ago, he was the guy that when the two on the battlefield, they say, well, your best guy go against my best guy, and he'd hold up the severed head of his opponent, screaming at the opposition. So I think he's probably in the right game for his mind.
Do you ever wish that he's less of a clown? Like, do you wish that sometimes he takes things more seriously? Will that be a detriment to him?
People's personalities are the way they are. You just have to kind of either you just work with what you have, and it's very much to his benefit in a lot of cases, this ability to not really take anything serious. He doesn't really get worked up or get stressed about anything. And sometimes I'll be pulling my hair out a little bit about stupid things, being 5 minutes late for class and stuff like that. It kind of bugs me. But it certainly works in his favor. I'm keeping him calm, and when he steps into the cage there, you see a real freedom about his movement and his ability to kind of see everything. It almost looks like it's in slow motion for him, whereas opponents might be a little bit stiffer and tenser and more worried, whereas he doesn't have that. But yeah, that is part as well of that kind of plus 1 year together now, that I've kind of learned where there's times that I can, kind of catch his attention and say, look, this is not the time to be messing around now. This is serious business. And, we've had 2 good first round finishes in a row now. So I believe we're getting that balance pretty good.
How do you feel when you see him do the worm?
Not good.
No. Do you wish he
Yeah.
would not do that?
Yeah, because I remember when our first fight that I did with him was the Ryan Spann fight, and he won with a first round knockout, and then he sat in the middle of the cage like a kind of a
Yeah.
Yoda stance, and he gave me yes, afterwards. He's like, "See, I can do that as well." And so my eyes just kind of widened up when I saw him going into that, and then the next day, he comes to me and he's like, my shoulder's kind
Oh
of
God.
sore today. And I'm about to give out to him. He's like, I'm just kidding, He's just trying to wind me up. But I suppose like he did get into it in a much safer fashion. He got down on his knees first.
Right.
And kind of rolled into it. And, he's in a sport where you can elbow each other in the face. So doing the worm in a controlled manner if that's my biggest problem with him, I'll deal with it.
All right. I mean, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I can't imagine how it makes you feel seeing that. Just knowing, for those that don't know, he injured his shoulder quite badly doing that several years ago, right after a big win. Can I ask you, I didn't get a chance to ask you about this. The last time we saw him fight prior to Saturday, there was that weird scene where all of a sudden he's like in the middle of the street, still wearing his gear. Could you tell us what happened there? What the heck? I mean, it's very Johnny Walker. He's walking around Las Vegas, full gear on, gloves and all. What the hell happened?
Yeah, Walker walking. So it was kind of funny. It was that, it was the show at the T-Mobile. And we, at the end of the fight now, I guess it's COVID protocol, and it wasn't unusual. It wasn't just us. This happened to everybody.
Okay.
They weren't picking on me in particular or anything like that. And we're doing all the media, and I realized as we're doing the media, we're getting closer and closer to the back door. And I was like, "Oh, can we go back to the locker room to just get changed?" And no, this is the way we do it now. Keep going. So we keep going out, and then suddenly I realize we're outside in the car park, and like clink, and the door's closed, and you kind of look around, what's going on here? And it's like, oh. Can Johnny just have a quick shower? And no, that's all done now. There's no green room. Back in the day, you go to the green room and you'd have a slice of cake and you'd see the other teams and whatever. So I guess with COVID protocol, that's gone, and now they just haven't brought it back in. Which, it's kind of I actually kind of used to like that at the end of the day, that all the teams would be sitting in there, and you get the winner, the guy who won would sit beside the guy who lost, and you'd have chats, and you'd see your coaches, the coaches of rival teams that you're friends with, and you kind of say hi to them. And it was sort of a nice end to the evening. But look, I guess this is the new protocol, and so we're just kind of outside now. And saying that, we had Johnny's gear. You could have put on a pair of pants and a t-shirt, but if I was 6'6" with like 8% body fat, I'd probably walk around with my top off a lot more. Also,
okay, fair enough. I just wanted to make sure that. It was a hilarious scene, but I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing more to it.
They weren't. I don't think they were picking on us or anything.
Okay, no, I didn't think that. I mean, why would they? Could I ask you about something that you tweeted after the fight on Saturday night? You wrote, quote, "Don't celebrate too hard. Don't commiserate too long. Luck plays a bigger role than anyone wants to acknowledge. Highest highs and lowest lows. All that matters is what we do tomorrow, win or learn. The process is the same. The next day, keep fucking going." What inspired you to tweet that after that win?
The sport is a tough one. Maybe one of the toughest in terms of the athletes. The fighters get so little opportunities to compete. Like competing twice a year is fairly average.
Right.
Some of them get up to 3 or 4 times a year. That's great. But if you are going through that, you've put in 6 months, and then, on a fight night, any given fight night, 50% win, 50% lose. It's just very absolute. I feel sorry for the guys sometimes. And I have a very busy fight team. My fight team at the moment is unreal. I have over 80 pros that I'm looking after. We're doing, I don't know, many fights, over 100 fights a year at this stage. And it was just trying to hammer home what I've said to my fighters in private a lot. And some of them have said that kind of perspective and that way of looking at it has helped them a little bit. And then, after the fight, you see the guys coming backstage that have lost, and they're really in the depths of it. So, just to kind of get them that maybe a slightly different way of looking at it, slightly different perspective, that don't forget that, half will lose on that night, and you'll have your chance again. So, hands down, chin down, hands up, and keep marching forward. Your time will come. And even that notion of like, and if you do win, great, but there's no need to take 3 months off. You can,
Right.
you can have a day or two, and then back in the gym, keep with the process. And Johnny's kind of at it. This is what I'll be saying to him when I see him next. He's had to get 2 good wins in a row, two first, and at that stage, sometimes it can be hard to keep that level of intensity, that level of focus with training, because I feel we're maybe a year out from a title fight, maybe in 2 more wins, and then we'll get a title fight. And the training can become monotonous. It does become mentally difficult to stay with that diet, to stay with that twice a day training routine. Keep at it. Don't stop. Keep going forward. That yes, we had a great win. Yes, we went to the beach the next day and we had a couple of cocktails, and that's fine. But I'm home now. I'm going to be in the gym first thing in the morning. I've got a lot of big fights coming up, and Johnny, he's going to stay in Brazil for a week or two, but then he's back in the gym and keep marching forward. We still have much to accomplish together.
So it's interesting because I think I read last year most wins for the team, right? In 2022, is that accurate? And I think from afar, those who may not follow things so closely would think like, oh, Irish MMA, it wasn't, or 2016 was the high point, or 2017, and Conor hasn't fought for a couple of years. But then you see you have 100 pros or 80 pros, and you've got all these wins. So you're busier now than ever. Like this notion that Irish MMA is dead, that you are struggling, that the team is struggling, that the whole scene is struggling, all this stuff is total BS, correct?
Yeah, I think in MMA, this more than anybody, that probably the majority of people are UFC fans, and then there's some MMA fans. So of course I had an incredible journey with Conor, and that journey isn't over yet by any means, but that's not as active now as it was at one stage. But I will just very humbly put up the team's record. We had a 83% win rate in 22. Johnny's had 2 wins in a row now in the UFC. I think I've 10 guys on the Bellator card in a couple of weeks in Dublin, February 25th. That's going to be an amazing card. I have Danny McCormack, obviously Danny Neal, and she's married now, Danny McCormack, which is a great story. I'd love to get Danny on your show one stage. She's fighting for the Invicta World title in March.
Yes.
And that journey began with her, and she will say this herself, being a little overweight Irish girl that came to the Mendes fight and was at Conor's after party, and she was kind of drank too much and she was a little bit heavy then, and she pulled me aside and said, one day I'll get a world title with you. And I kind of rolled my eyes and went, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Every drunk Irish fan tells me that. And that was
2015.
2015.
Yeah.
And now we're 2023, and she's won a silver medal in the Amateur World Championships, and now she's fighting for the Invicta World title in March. So I love that story. I've got a couple of guys in PFL fighting soon. Will Fleury, Franz Malam. Oh well, I don't know if I'm supposed to really say it.
That's fine.
Or not, but that's coming out soon. Who else have we got? Nate Kelly. He burst onto the scene on PFL, an incredible first round. Basically knocked the guy out and then choked him. So yeah, 80 odd pros. Most probably Bellator is definitely my biggest promotion that I'm involved with, but I have whatever it is, 3 or 4 in UFC, 3 or 4 in PFL, and every day I walk on the mats. I have 40 or 50 really high level guys on the mats, and things are not slowing down on my end. Actually, just today we started our 10th season of Train Alta. I know you know a little bit about that. I used to be called Wim to Warrior, now Train Alta, and we had 98 people show up for their first lesson in mixed martial arts, and rewind. In fact, even today, 98 people as a membership of an MMA gym wouldn't be a bad number for a small to medium MMA gym to have 98 members. We had 98 people join just today for lesson 1 of Train Alta. So as far as I can see, MMA is buzzing, and it's certainly not giving me many days off. Let's put it that way.
Our own Casey Leiden, one of the more famous alum of Train Alta, maybe talking about a second fight. Although I think if he did a second fight, it wouldn't be under that program, right? Like now, like once you do the first fight, you're on your own, correct?
Well, actually, quite a few people have done it multiple times. You know who might be a good opponent for him?
We're booking a fight.
Yeah. Wouldn't this be interesting? Now, I'm going to embarrass myself because I'm struggling to remember his name, but the Mac Life.
Oh, Oscar Willis.
Oscar, he fought Andre
Yes.
Alta also.
Incredible fight.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I watched that back a few times. I was blown away by him. And you know what? That's a typical Train Alta story. You kind of maybe we make a snap judgment when we meet someone or we spend a bit of time in their company. And I was really impressed by him. What a left hook he has on him.
Yes.
But what about those two guys?
Let's go.
Their second Train Alta fight.
I wonder if the weight classes match up there. We'll have to.
I don't think there'd be much between them. They look very similar.
Okay, what are you trying to do to the MMA media? You're trying to break us up here? I mean, we got two guys fighting.
No, fighting brings you together.
That is true.
Makes you even closer. Paul Craig and Johnny Walker are I would argue, very good friends now. I'm actually hoping to get. I'll be reaching out to his coach, the great James Doolan, a fantastic guy. And now that they fought, maybe we can do a little bit of cross training together, because that was a fight that was keeping me up at night. His ability to pull guard at this level of MMA and take out really high level guys. So we did a lot of work in the lead up to that fight to deal with those scenarios. And that night, luck played a role in it. Like I said in the tweet, probably more than anybody's comfortable with. We did our best in preparation, but the dice fell that way. Maybe in another time, Paul catches to kick and falls in a different way, and suddenly he can wrap up Johnny's leg. He's an incredible jiu-jitsu finishing rate. So that's an interesting one.
I'll let you go in a moment. You've been very kind, and I'm sure you're very tired, but would be remiss if I don't ask you this question. True or false? Does Conor fight this year?
I'd be willing to bet my house on it.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. First half of the year, back into the year, what are we feeling?
I was actually chatting to him just yesterday or the day before, and then Audie was in town because he's, actually it was a weird one. Paradigm, Audie manages Paul and Johnny.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
God bless them having to kind of go between both camps.
Yes.
But I think there's some interesting negotiations going along now. Audie, or Ariel, you always, and I'm jet lagged and I'm tired.
Yeah.
This silver tongue way of getting me to say certain things.
You look fantastic.
So I absolutely can't say anything beyond that, but I'm very confident that we will see Conor back in the octagon.
Oh, that is wonderful news. Yeah. That is wonderful. Could I ask?
Here, can I ask you
sure.
a quick question? Here's
you're hitting me back with a jab here before I got the second punch out. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, there it is.
This is maybe I'm jet lagged, and that's why I'm bringing this up. And I probably should just have texted you this.
Okay.
Off air, and you're definitely not going to get names out of me. But this is the second time it's happened to me now, where a fairly high level coach has slid into one of my guys' DMs and was like, "Would you not consider joining my team instead?" And I found that I don't know whether that's more common in this game than I'm used to. But it really kind of caught me sideways. Someone would do that. Like, I'm saying here that I'll have a chat with James Doolan about a little cross training with Paul Craig, and that's very common. We do that all the time. I've got Gunnar Nelson's going to train with Leon Edwards in the lead up to London for a week or so, and the London Shoot guys, we've gone back and forward with them, and all of that would be very common. But for a coach to directly go to a fighter that's clearly with another team and say, "Hey, you should join my team," I found that very odd. But I just wonder if you've heard of that, or is that kind of more common in MMA than I know of?
I will say this. I hear it less about coaches doing it. It feels to me like, for the most part, obviously everyone has egos and there's rivalries and you want to be the best and win. It feels like there's a fraternity. It's kind of like what I was talking about with Saif Saud and James Krause. And I thought Saif handled that whole situation very well. He didn't celebrate the fact that now he's coaching Brandon Moreno because it's at the expense of a brother, if you will. I hear about that sort of thing more with the managers, if I'm being honest. It seems like the managers don't seem to have the same sort of respect. And you hear about DMs being slid all over the place, all over the gaff, as they say over in Ireland. I don't hear it actually, if I'm being honest, the coaches. I don't feel like the coaches recruit as much. For the most part, you guys, and I say that I'll include you in that, like you wait to see if someone comes to you. You're not out there saying, "Hey, you should come to me." So I am surprised to hear that. And was this someone that you respected as like a big name guy?
Yeah.
Really?
Two separate occasions, and both of them are they're brilliant. They have great.
That is weird. Because most guys are busy on like enough, like they have enough guys to worry about or fighters to worry about. You know what I mean? Like they don't need more, right?
No, that's very true. Yeah, that's kind of at this stage. you know, almost the last thing in the world is to eat any more protein.
Right, exactly.
I'm busy as it is, but yeah, I thought that was odd. Like, you know, like I said, very super common for us to message about, you know, maybe some sparring or cross training. That's
Right.
all, you know, two thumbs up on that. But because you know this game, like I don't do contracts with any of my fighters. I'm all of my guys. They if after a fight they say, you know what, I'd rather go somewhere else. Wish them all the best, and we'll part company friends. I so much describe our game as I feel like we're like a traveling circus, and we're all part of the same team almost. Yes, they get in the octagon and they fight hard, but you know, backstage afterwards, or we're back in the hotel, pretty much everybody is on friendly terms with each other. There's always I feel a respectful nod and hello and how's things going with you? And us coaches, we chat about the same headaches you get from young 20-something males, and it's almost like therapy when we talk to each other about the same problems that's happening in
Right.
Canada, as Australia, as Ireland. It's just, you know, it's people are people. So yeah, this happened. It was
That is
surprising to me.
not cool.
Anyway, no biggie.
No biggie, no biggie. We won't name names. Last one. Speaking of names, if they say to you, "Who should Connor come back against?" Who do you say? Who's your pick?
Looking for that headline, eh?
No, listen. I'm not the one writing any headlines. I don't do any of it.
I
I'm
know,
just,
I know. I kid.
I can't help what
I
the
don't
other
look on
people
your
do.
bad side, Ariel. I see over the last couple of weeks, anybody that likely steps against you, it seems to be on the end of a 10-7. So I don't want none of that heat, Ariel.
You would never get that heat. You would never
I
get
don't
that
want
heat.
the smoke, as the kids
Yes.
say. Who against? You know, God, like I know I'm asked this so often, and like I have to be honest when I say, like, I really don't mind what matters to me is that, let's say I'm seeing Connor this week, and we're chatting and he says a few names, and I see a name particularly gets the eyes open and particularly gets him pacing up and down the living room and showing me what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. That would be absolutely the most important thing for me, is that it's a name that's going to excite him, because, you know, as for Connor, for training for this next fight, he's definitely got to find something that's massively, I hate this word, motivating to him, that's going to get him, you know, out of the silk pants and into the sweaty gym, and you know, what's it going to be? A couple million more? Is that really going to motivate him? I don't think so. He has a couple of championship belts already. Is that it? I don't think so. So I think it's more going to be a particular opponent, a particular skill set, and how it matches up against him. You know, you've got the great Nate Diaz is obviously in there. Justin Gaethje, I think, would be a very interesting matchup. Someone he hasn't fought before. The Poirier fighter, probably, we've done that so many times at this stage, and it's just a weird one.
Chandler's out there, right?
Michael Chandler,
Yeah.
a great fighter, great athlete. They're all brilliant. They're all going to bring something different to the contest. What I would be looking for is the one name that gets Connor moving, gets him off his stool, gets him moving around, and gets him excited. Some of the names I've heard him mention before, he's like, oh yeah, I'd fight him, but if I see that level of lack of interest, well, then I'd be nervous that may not get him through like 12 weeks of being in a very tough environment. Whereas if it's a name that does exciting, well, then training is fun and training is easy.
I love it. Well, that is very exciting, and what Johnny's doing is very exciting, and I'm happy to hear that the gym is doing well, and I can't wait. That Bellator Dublin show is my favorite of the year that Bellator puts on. Just the crowd is amazing. I won't be there, and I haven't been to Ireland since 2014, since the Brandao fight, but I'm saying it right now, John, you will see my face if they do Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano at Croke Park. I am going there come hell or high water. I have to be there for that. So perhaps I will get to see you back in your beautiful country later on this year. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on. Did you want to say something? It seemed like you wanted to say something there.
No, I'm just going to say thanks very much for having me on again. It's a pleasure to be here.
Again, and don't be a stranger, okay? Anytime. Anytime.
I'll see you again.
All right. Thank you so much, John. Congratulations. Welcome back home. There he is, the great John Kavanagh of SBG Ireland.